Coming up, we've got information on where to celebrate Halloween around Trinity and San Antonio.
And your weekly updates on weather, sports, and current events.
All this and more right now on Newswave.
Audio Jungle.
Good afternoon and welcome to Studio B. Due to a scheduling conflict in Studio A, Newswave is coming to you live from Studio B for our Halloween episode.
Today is Friday, October 27th. My name is Luke McCauley.
And I'm Cynthia Morales. It's officially Halloween weekend here at Trinity, and we here at Newswave hope you're excited for a weekend of costumes, candy, and celebration. This upcoming Tuesday, Trinity University is hosting its second annual Halloween on Oakmont from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. This event has been coordinated by the Dean of Students Office since 2022, serving as a new addition to the holiday calendar and a fun prequel to its popular counterpart, Christmas on Oakmont. Halloween on Oakmont finishes off Hallow Weekend with a trick-or-treating component to celebrate the end of October and the official conclusion of midterm season here at Trinity. The Dean of Students Office encourages all students to come out and trick-or-treat at the homes of Trinity leadership. Stops along Oakmont include visits with Vice President for Student Affairs Andrew Wells, Chaplain Alex Serna Wallander, and President Vanessa Beasley. Student Body President and Newswave Associate Producer Danny Wynn has also demonstrated excitement for the event, stating that, quote, Halloween on Oakmont is an event that helps students engage with Trinity's leadership, build community, and most importantly, get a lot of free candy. We here at Newswave look forward to seeing you out on Oakmont this Halloween in your fantastic costumes.
Trinity is gearing up to celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Coates Esplanade. This event is being organized by the Asian American Pacific Islander Council, or AAPI, and aims to celebrate family, friendship, good luck, gratitude, and the full moon. The festival will feature an assortment of foods, games, and activities provided by AAPI clubs. The AAPI Council will serve mooncakes and host a Chinese dice and bowl game with prizes. Mooncakes, traditionally a Chinese dessert, are important symbols of the Mid-Autumn Festival, symbolizing the full moon and reunions with loved ones. The Chinese Language and Cultural Association will present a trifold exhibition on the Mid-Autumn Festival, offer calligraphy activities, and serve boba tea. Additionally, the Japanese Culture Club will provide mochi, and the Vietnamese Student Association will serve egg rolls, fried rice, and set up a photo booth to take photos with friends and professors. The festival promotes the coming together of diverse cultures, fostering a sense of community and cultural connection among AAPI students at Trinity. It provides students with the opportunity to connect with professors, promoting a deeper sense of community and cultural understanding. While this festival is relatively new to Trinity, it has quickly grown into a collaborative tradition and offers students a chance to experience and appreciate unique Asian cultures. This event has also encouraged students to reflect on their families and heritage. We hope to see you all there.
For the first time since 2019, Trinity University has hosted Mabuhay, a cultural event put on by the Filipino Student Association, or FSA. Mabuhay is a special event held to honor Filipino culture, highlighting the elements that make it unique from other Asian cultures. The show changed a lot from the previous showing 4 years ago. This year's event focused more on the Filipino-American experience as opposed to the traditional aspects of Filipino culture. The majority of the performers were first-year students who enjoyed the opportunity to reconnect with Filipino culture. Like many other campus events, this event returned for the first time since the pandemic. The event was a major success, and the efforts to reinstate Mabuhay on Trinity campus were led by the student officers of FSA. According to the Trinitonian, FSA co-president and senior psychology major Lexel Penafil expressed that, quote, the word mabuhay means to live on. And in our case, it's like to have our culture and the way we celebrate our culture live on. It's our chance to bring it back and to bring Filipino culture back and make it more alive.
October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Dr. Sharad Dalwadi, an expert from UT Health San Antonio, MD Anderson Cancer Center, has shared crucial insights regarding breast cancer in a recent KSAT San Antonio news story. Leading with concerning statistics, Dr. Dalwadi noted that, quote, 1 in 8 women in the United States will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. She addressed structural risk factors such as age, gender, and family history alongside avoidable factors like obesity, pregnancy history, hormone use, radiation exposure. Dr. Dalwadi urged citizens to take proactive measures, recommending regular mammograms and earlier screenings for high-risk individuals. Additionally, Dr. Dalwadi advocated for 3D mammogram requests and advertised consulting physicians for genetic screening and counseling for early detection. She stressed the significance of healthy lifestyle to minimize breast cancer risk and the necessity of equipping women with resources needed to seek medical assistance. As Breast Cancer Awareness Month comes to an end, it is important to remember to take care of yourself and be supportive of those dealing with this condition.
On Thursday, October 12th, the Texas Senate passed a school voucher bill, marking a pivotal moment in education reform. According to the Texas Tribune, the controversial Senate Bill 1, endorsed by Republican Senator Brandon Creighton, proposes education savings accounts, granting families access to $8,000 in state funds for private schooling and related expenses, echoing the previous Senate Bill 8. But this legislation is far from a simple educational upgrade. Critics argue it's a financial drain on public schools already grappling with funding shortfalls. In response to Senate bills, Senator Brandon Creighton stated, quote, "This legislation empowers families to make choices for their children's education and reflects our commitment to expanding educational opportunities in Texas." Despite Republicans' dominance of both the House and the Senate, Texas conservatives do not maintain ideological uniformity with regard to school vouchers. House Bill 1, written by Republican Representative Brad Buckley of Killeen, Texas, inhibits Governor Abbott's ability to boost the amount of tax dollars for school vouchers. The bill, filed last Thursday night, states that funding for an education savings account program must come from explicitly appropriate funds. As these conflicting bills progress through the state legislature, we will keep you informed on the future of school vouchers in Texas.
Still ahead, we've got information on the new Speaker of the House.
And plenty more Halloween fun to be had.
We'll be right back in 60 seconds.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Newswave. Make sure to get ready for a spooktacular Halloween because it's right around the corner. San Antonio is a perfect place for this every time of year because there are so many fun things to do. Starting out this weekend, we have Muertos Fest, which takes place on Saturday, October 28th, and Sunday, October 29th, in Hempstead Park. In previous years, the National Geographic has ranked Muertos Fest as one of the 7 best fall festivals in the entire United States. With live music, vendors markets, and ofrendas honoring past loved ones, the festival is free and open to the public. Just down the road, the McNay Art Museum is opening an exciting exhibit called Dreamland, to honor the 30th anniversary of The Nightmare Before Christmas, which you can check out until January 14th. More trick-or-treating, free music, scary costumes, and thrilling treats can be found at San Antonio SeaWorld and the San Antonio Zoo. For those going out to celebrate the Halloween weekend festives, whether locally or in the Trinity community, we here at Newswave want to remind you to have a fun and safe Halloween. To fill you in on the Halloween weekend weather report is our Chief Meteorologist, Luke Morden.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another weekend. It has been good to see our area get some rain this past week. However, the rain did make it quite muggy out, which may not be welcome for most. This weekend looks to bring continued warmth and humidity. However, rain chances should be low, so outdoor activities should be good to go. Look for highs in the mid-80s and lows in the 70s. Next week, however, looks to be a completely different story, with a Canadian cold front arriving, bringing a taste of winter to our area. Highs for the beginning of next week should only be in the 50s and lows in the 40s. With cloudy skies next week, it should feel more like Seattle than South Texas, so make sure you just off those jackets. Halloween night may cause some chills in more ways than one, with temps expected to be in the 40s under partly cloudy skies. In recent news, there were a couple of brief tornadoes that touched down yesterday morning. One of them was caught on camera near I-35 and 281, which is just a mile from Trinity's campus. Another tornado touched down near Fort Sam Houston. Both incidents thankfully only saw minor damage and no injuries have been reported. That's all I have for today. I hope you all have a great weekend and a spooktacular Halloween, and I will see you next week.
A Texas judge has ruled that Alex Jones, the host of the infamous conspiracy-driven InfoWars news site, will not be able to use bankruptcy protection to avoid paying $1.1 billion to the families of the Sandy Hook victims. Jones was forced to compensate the families for damages he caused by claiming that the 2012 Sandy Hook massacre did not happen. Relatives of the victims testified that Jones supporters harassed them and referred to them as crisis actors while they were grieving the loss of their loved ones. According to usnews.com, the attorney for the families stated, quote, "The families are pleased with the court's ruling that Jones' malicious conduct will find no safe harbor in the bankruptcy court. Jones and his attorneys submitted documents that place his personal net worth at $14 million. However, because of the judge's ruling, Jones' actions are not protected by bankruptcy. As a result, the money Jones owes the families could grow even larger as another lawsuit is pending in Texas."
On Wednesday, the search for a new Speaker of the House came to a conclusion, as Republican Representative from Louisiana, Mike Johnson, was elected to the position. Johnson was unanimously elected with the votes of all 220 Republican representatives, which were 5 more than the number he needed. Johnson's election comes 3 weeks after former Speaker Kevin McCarthy was removed from office in a historic vote. Johnson was the 4th Republican nominee for the position and was the first to gain the support of a divided Republican majority. Reconciling the conflicting interests of both factions was necessary to put Johnson over the 250 minimum vote requirement to be elected as Speaker. After being officially sworn in, Johnson said, quote, "The People's House is back in business." The House's return to business couldn't come any sooner, as the government's funding will expire on November 17th. If the House cannot come to an agreement to create a new bill for government funding by then, the government will shut down. The House's 3-week hiatus has come to a close, and as the legislative branch re-enters the realm of conflicts in the Middle East and government shutdowns, we here at Newswave will keep you informed with the most recent updates.
Election season in Argentina is in full effect as presidential polls closed this past Sunday evening. Julio Vitobello, General Secretary of the President, calls it a, quote, "a model day of Argentine democracy." With millions casting their ballots, the first round of votes were released from this past weekend. CNN reports that, quote, Sergio Massa received the highest number of votes, accounting for 36% of the total, and Javier Milei received roughly 30%. Candidate Patricia Bullrich came well behind both Massa and Milei and forfeited her run. As a result, both candidates will face each other off in runoff election in the coming month. Massa is a left-wing politician who currently holds a ministerial position in the government. Milei is a right-wing with goals of changing Argentina's economic structure and ministries of culture. The stakes are high, not just for both candidates, but for all Argentinians. In the past few years, Argentina has suffered from a wicked cycle of inflation, raising prices for consumer goods at an unhealthy rate. The victor of the coming election will determine Argentina's national response to the crisis by shaping the nation's fiscal policy. For a candidate to win the presidency, they must have a total of 45% of the votes, or at least 40%. Next month, Argentina's president should be announced and take office immediately in December. Newswave will make sure to keep you informed about this upcoming election.
Coming up, we've got a couple of stories on the war in the Middle East and the effect it's having worldwide, nationally, and even in Texas. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after the break.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov. Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to Energy Star light bulbs, and you'll realize just how much cash you are really burning through. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov.
The conflict in the Middle East has continued for its third consecutive week as Israeli airstrikes continue to fall on the Gaza Strip. Despite the war's intensification, international attempts at providing humanitarian relief have had limited success. Although humanitarian aid has slowly begun to trickle into Gaza, the United Nations is struggling to agree on a pathway forward for international engagement. This past Wednesday, October 25th, the UN Security Council failed to unite behind a resolution that would outline international perspectives on the crisis. According to APnews.com, the United States drafted a resolution that would have affirmed Israel's rights to self-defense, while also calling for, quote, humanitarian pauses, in which aid could be delivered to the citizens of Gaza. However, fellow permanent council members of Russia and China vetoed this resolution, nullifying the 10-3 majority vote that it received. Instead, this bloc opted for a Russian solution that called for an immediate ceasefire. This resolution also failed, as it only mustered the support of 4 nations on the council. The paralysis of the UN Security Council is having immediate consequences in the Gaza. The Hamas-run health ministry reported that more than 6,500 Palestinians have been killed in the airstrikes, and there is a growing fear that the fighting could develop into a broader regional conflict. The consequences of inaction are tangible for those who are struggling in Israel and Gaza alike, but these consequences are not insulted to the Middle East.
Here in the U.S., a chilling rise in hate crimes is inspiring fear among Jewish and Palestinian communities nationwide. On October 13th, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, a peaceful rally turned to chaos when a man brandished a gun, hurling racial slurs at the crowd. Omar Musa, a 30-year-old Palestinian American, recounts the terror that unfolded as people fled the rally. Musa stated that the alleged attacker, quote, came to inflict terror and is now facing charges including ethnic intimidation. The numbers are telling. The Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee reports hundreds of hate incidents against Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim Americans. Simultaneously, the Anti-Defamation League has recorded a stark surge of 107 anti-Semitic incidents since October 7th. President Joe Biden, commending these acts, urged Americans to break their silence against this wave of hatred. Yet, as the war in the Middle East endures, so does the fear among Jewish and Palestinian American leaders here. The ripple effects of the distant war has already echoed hearts deep into communities across America. Last week, a 6-year-old Palestinian American boy was brutally stabbed to death in Plainfield, Illinois, and his mother was severely injured. The perpetrators' motives were allegedly targeting the family for their religion in the ongoing Middle Eastern conflict. The harrowing narrative stretches to Lombard, Illinois, where 2 Muslim men were threatened with death, and to New York City, where a Jewish woman was assaulted in the subway. In Utah, bomb threats disrupted Jewish congregations, symbolizing the atmosphere of terror enveloping the involved religious groups. As the Middle Eastern conflict rages on, it has become increasingly clear that its effects are not bounded by geography. The seed of hatred, once planted, finds fertile ground to grow worldwide. This wave of hatred shouldn't be overlooked as a sad statistic, but acknowledged as a lived reality for many Americans. The recent uptick in hate crimes in the U.S. serves as a grim reminder that global conflict breeds local fear. This reminder extends beyond religious and ethnic lines, urging us all to reflect on the intertwined fate of distant lands and our own nation.
Last Friday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott called on Texas schools to make use of additional resources provided by the Texas Education Agency to teach about the Israel-Palestine conflict. Abbott expressed strong support for Israel and its Jewish community while emphasizing the importance of preventing misinformation and prejudice. The governor stated that, quote, "The state of Texas stands strong with Israel and our Jewish neighbors during the heinous acts of war committed by the terrorist group Hamas, and we will not allow misinformation and prejudice to undermine the support the Jewish community needs during the time of conflict." The Texas Education Agency confirmed that the provided materials are optional resources for educators and parents to aid students in understanding the conflict and reporting hate speech or acts of violence. According to the Texas Tribune, the resource listed includes materials on the history of the conflict for the Institution for Curriculum Studies, a guide to, quote, conscientious conversations from the Anti-Defamation League, an article on U.S. policy toward the region from the Council on Foreign Relations, and a resource for parents on discussing violence with children from Common Sense Media. According to Abbott's statement, these materials are intended to supplement existing curriculum on topics like Israel, anti-Semitism, genocide, and the Holocaust. Abbott's call in the wake of previous expressions of support for Israel, such as his recent praise for a Hilton Hotel in Houston for canceling a conference hosted by the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. As we report on these developments, we extend our heartfelt support to all those affected by the ongoing conflict.
In more national news, on Wednesday night, the community of Lewiston, Maine was devastated by a mass shooting. The shooting took place in 2 locations, a local bar and a bowling alley where a children's league was taking place. According to ABC News, 18 people were killed and 13 more were injured in the attack. Families of the victims have not had time to grieve as the primary suspect, Robert Card, is still at large. As of our most recent report, the search for Card is still on, and to this point, authorities have received over 500 tips and leads. The city of Lewiston is currently under shelter and place order as authorities continue the search for Card. The tragedy has provoked sympathies nationwide, but it has also inspired reconsideration of gun legislation at local and national levels. One of Maine's Democratic representatives, Jared Golden, has reportedly changed his policy stance on an assault weapons ban. In a press conference promoting the ban, Golden reflected that, quote, "The time has not come for me to take responsibility for this failure." In a statement on Thursday afternoon, President Biden said, quote, "Once again, our nation is mourning after yet another senseless and tragic mass shooting." Echoing these sentiments in a speech at the State Department, Vice President Kamala Harris hinted at the effectiveness of gun control reforms passed in Australia at significantly reducing gun-related deaths. The massacre is the deadliest mass shooting in the United States in 2023, and as authorities continue the hunt for the primary suspect, our hearts are with the families and victims in Lewiston.
Last Sunday, October 22nd, Filipino officials reported a Chinese Coast Guard ship and an accompanying vessel ramming a Filipino Coast Guard ship and a military run-boat Sunday off a contested shoal. Unfortunately, there were no injuries among the Filipino crew members that were involved, but officials have worried that the encounter heightens the potential of an armed conflict in the undisputed South China Sea. In recent months, China has been more assertive of its territorial claims in the South China Sea and islands near the Philippine shore, triggering rising tensions between the two nations. Taking a preventive stance, the United States have reaffirmed its treaty obligations towards the Philippines, which extends to attacks on Philippine forces and vessels in the South China Sea. In a recent post on the social media site X, U.S. Ambassador of Manila, Mary Kay Carlson, condemned the collision, arguing that the continued disruptions are, quote, putting the lives of Filipino service members at risk.
Still ahead, we've got more info on Halloween in the U.S. and abroad, as well as your weekly sport updates. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 60 seconds.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Welcome back. As Halloween approaches, South Korea is filled with a somber mood, approaching the one-year anniversary of crowd surges that killed over 150 people. Citizens who are still mourning those lost in the tragedy express hope that the government will acknowledge the incident ahead of its anniversary weekend. An anonymous survivor of the disaster told reporters that, quote, I'm honestly still dealing with it all. I know it's unrealistic to expect Itaewon to not celebrate Halloween this year, but out of respect for the victims and everyone involved, I think the businesses should do something to acknowledge it too. There is uncertainty among Koreans about whether to celebrate Halloween, with some questioning the sensitivity of doing so. The Korean Times highlights the complex relationship between Halloween and Itaewon, a foreign district in South Korea. The district has been given a bad reputation nationally. In the aftermath of tragedies like the crowd surges, perceptions of Itaewon tend to spiral. Some are calling for a memorial to remember the tragedy and promote responsible behavior, while others emphasize the importance of celebrating responsibly to support local businesses. Halloween has traditionally been a time for celebration in Itaewon, but this year residents in Korea are balancing the tradition with the lingering grief from last year's incident.
Now we've got your weekly look at Trinity and professional sports with our sport editor, Caleb Reed. Take it away, Caleb.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to sports. There's so much to cover both from last week and the week ahead, so let's get right into it. First off, the Trinity Tigers football team took a massive victory over SAA rivals Southwestern University, sinking the Pirates 57-7 on the road up in Georgetown. The team rode into the week following a bye and made the most of it with a massive game on the road. Their next game will be here at Trinity, where they will face the Millsaps Majors tomorrow at noon. Meanwhile, over on the court, volleyball swept the weekend with 3 straight victories, winning 2 games on Friday and another on Saturday. The second Friday game saw a tight 3-2 contest against Austin College, but the other 2 games were straight set victories. The result moves Trinity up to a 24-3 season record to go along with a number 11 national ranking. Women's soccer took a dominant 9-0 win against Centenary College on Sunday, which followed a close 1-0 win against St. Thomas on Friday night. Unfortunately, the Trinity weekend sweep was broken by a tough loss by men's soccer, who fell 2-3 to Colorado College on Friday night. Meanwhile, in Formula One, the United States Grand Prix was an incredibly up-and-down event, both literally and figuratively, on the bumpy Austin, Texas racetrack. Max Verstappen won yet another race in a season that he has absolutely dominated, taking the lead late after a thrilling race at the front. Verstappen had a poor starting spot and had to climb through the front, which wasn't helped by the speed of the McLarens and Ferraris ahead. The surface of the Circuit of the Americas was incredibly bumpy, causing difficulty with handling as well as creating a post-race stunner. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton were disqualified from the race due to too much wear on a wooden plank at the bottom of their cars, which was a feature introduced in 1994 for safety reasons. Their disqualification paved the way for Logan Sargent, the only American driver on the grid and the first since 2015 to score his first career points. The result means that Sargent is the first American to score points in F1 in over 30 years, an incredible feat for the rookie. Verstappen held his win with Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz joining him on the now revised podium. In addition to the F1 race, the weekend running in Austin saw the season conclusion of another racing series. The F1 Academy Series is a brand new series designed to give new opportunities to women in motorsport. Jessica Edgar won the first title in F1 Academy history, clinching the championship after winning race 3 on Sunday. She's moving up to Formula Regional next season, which is a part of the Formula One feeder system. Finally, the American League Championship Series wrapped up on Monday night, capped off by a dominant 11-4 victory for the Texas Rangers to win their first American League Championship since 2011. The Rangers won the first 2 games of the series on the road, but were swept at home, including a devastating 5-4 loss in Game 5 that tied the series at 3-3 that I happened to be going to. After the tough loss, the Rangers came out swinging, fueled by a heated fight after right fielder Adolis Garcia was hit by a pitch during the final game at home. Texas won 9-2 in Game 6 and then earned a massive 11-4 win in a do-or-die Game 7. Garcia earned ALCS MVP after getting 3 home runs in the final 2 games, including a game-sealing grand slam in Game 6. He had a home run in the final 4 straight games, breaking an MLB record for most RBIs in a single playoff series. The Rangers now go on to face the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series, who beat the Philadelphia Phillies in 7 games. This is the first time that the D-backs have made the October Classic since 2001, which they won against the New York Yankees in 7 games. That's all from me. Have a great weekend and have a very happy Halloween.
When thinking about the most expensive holiday, many think of Christmas or even Thanksgiving, but reports have shown that Halloween is the more expensive than usually expected. The National Retail Foundation has recently predicted that Americans are projected to spend $12.2 billion this year for Halloween festivities, beating the previous record of $10.6 billion from last year. On average, Americans spend about $108 on costumes, home decor, and party supplies to celebrate spooky season. However, many get very festive and spend lots of money on decorations, with a projected $3.9 billion to be spent on home decorations alone. The ritual of Halloween, which includes trick-or-treating, decorating, and handing out candy, is beloved by many Americans, leading them to spend as much money as needed to have a fun time. We understand that this has been a tough week for people across the world, in the U.S., and even here at Trinity, as we navigate an increasingly disruptive wave of current events. Halloween still serves as an escape from the real world for those who need it. Clinging to childhood rituals like this one can bring joy and stability in an ever-changing world. And I hope that everyone celebrating this weekend has a wonderful time.
That's all the time we have for this week, folks. We hope y'all enjoyed the episode and that y'all have a weekend to remember.
Be sure to tune in for our next episode on Friday, November 3rd. I'm Cynthia Morales.
And I'm Luke McCauley.
Happy Halloween!